Prologue. Piercing screams drowned against the echo of roaring flames, the sound of many thousands fleeing their homes to their peril. 3 cloaked figures emerged from the fire's smoke, a malevolence etched into their smiles that bore no semblance of morality. They said not a word, only gazed into the destruction as they bathed in the suffering. The 3 figures moved slowly, savouring every moment in the spotlight of the sparks. The street they stood on was long, and at the end of the road, atop a small hill, was a grand palace. The buildings were stacked in a Grecian style and painted in different pastel shades, muddied by the black, overcast sky. Although the street was wide, the miscellany of houses made it feel narrow. A boy emerged from one of the homes in flames, weak and covered in several burns. He stood opposite the 3 figures and hesitated for only a moment before he took a deep breath. A bright, fiery light began to consume him. Each one of his already cindered clothes burned up as they transformed into a new, shimmering attire. As his hair was magically pinned back, he finally sprouted a pair of wings as the fire evanesced. He now wore a sparkling blue shirt and trousers, whilst attached to his back was a large pair of intricate, glittering wings. The burns present on his skin were no longer visible. "Fairies," snarled one of the hags. "You don't know when to give up." She paused and looked at her 2 accomplices. The boy let out a breath and leapt into the air, his wings beginning to flutter. He shot a fiery bolt from his fingers at the 3 villains, which exploded in a huge display of heat and embers. He remained in the air as the smoke from the magic cleared, revealing that the 3 figures had vanished. For a moment, the fluttering of the fairy's wings and the desolate howling of the wind were all that could be heard. The screams were no longer. Flying higher, he could see the vast expanse of destruction. Everywhere he looked, he could see the memory of his home, now gone. He collapsed to the ground in tears as the 3 hags rematerialized before him. One walked towards him and kneeled, her hand caressing his face. "Valiant effort from an Enchantix fairy," she said, as her claws wrapped around the fairy's neck. "Unfortunately, not valiant enough." Then, an icy glow radiated from her palms. His skin began to freeze, progressing up his neck and over his face. The fairy croaked as he tried to breathe, his skin sizzling and crackling as it turned to solid ice. In a matter of moments, the fairy was frozen solid, his knees already melting into water under the heat of the flames. The hag cackled. The 3 villains stared in silence as he boiled away, before reeling their heads to face the palace atop the hill. In the palace, a woman, cloaked and masked in sunset orange, raced through the golden halls. Fighting tears, she dragged behind her a young child, masked and cloaked in white, who was panting and stumbling as she tried to keep up. The woman's platinum blonde hair leaked from her hood as she repeatedly cleared it away from her face. The palace was already engulfed in fire, and most of the staff along with it. Meanwhile, the 3 villainesses made their way into the courtyard of the palace, setting aflame each artisan hedge along the path that led to the doors. They didn't even have to enter the castle before they spotted the cloaked woman and her young companion. They paused as the 2 of them ran through the grand doors, locking eyes with the 3 hags for what was barely a moment. The woman then removed her cloak, revealing a glittering costume and large, ornate wings underneath. She swept up the young girl and turned to fly across the courtyard. The wicked trio followed the fairy with great haste, their faces betraying, for once, a semblance of fear, the arrogance now wiped from their smiles. The hags knew exactly who this woman was, and she frightened them. The fairy flew down the hill upon which the palace stood, still carrying the young girl. Behind the castle, the hill turned into a cliff face, with a strip of sandy beach separating it from the ocean. Ingrained into the side of the cliff was a small cave. Carried by her wings this time, the fairy headed inside. The cave opened up into a large dome-like area within, Crystals of bright, warm colours littered the cave, and a strange monolith, stone-circled structure stood proudly in the middle. The woman rushed inside, setting down the young girl, and began to cast spells over the stone circle. As she did, each of the rocks began to glow. "Daphne?" the small girl stuttered. "What's going on?" Daphne turned to face her. She could see through her mask that she was trying to fight back tears. "You're going to be okay, okay?" spoke Daphne in an attempt to calm her. A great roar of energy then resonated from the monolith. A veil of magic appeared between a couple of the center rocks that seemed to form a doorway. "I need you to go through that portal now." "Will you come with me?" "Of course I'll come with you," Daphne affirmed, although her voice trembled. "Sisters always stick together. Let's go, quickly." Her voice dwindled to a whisper. They both walked towards the veil together, hand in hand. Suddenly, there was a crash of energy from within the cave. Daphne knew in an instant that the hags had managed to find their way into the cavern. "I'm sorry," she spoke quickly. Her eyes lit up with grief as she pushed the small girl into the portal. The girl let out a scream as she passed through the veil, but it faded from the cave along with her. Daphne placed her hand on the veil and dissolved it, her head lowered in heartbreak. "You're foolish. You know that he will live on for all eternity. What makes you think you can hide her forever?" croaked one of the hags. Her voice sounded macabre, yet clearly frustrated. "Quiet, Lilith. No need for us to waste our breath on words she already knows to be true." "I'm not scared," jabbed the fairy. "One day you will find her. But when that day comes, she will be strong enough to finally snuff out the darkness and usher in the light. I hope that scares you. I hope it scares you for 1,000 years. You remind me of your parents, Daphne," the third and final hag remarked. "I have seen dynasties rise and fall, but never have I encountered such arrogance as I have with your family." She paused for a moment and glared. "You will fall. Lilith, Tharma, your hands." As the beings linked their hands, every ounce of warmth in the cave turned cold. "May the forces of light live on, forevermore." A bright light encompassed Daphne. Then she was gone. The villains were left unsettled, for they knew that they had failed. The leader of the three let out an ear-shattering scream in her frustration and cindered pride. They all looked out into the destruction. This was the night that the almighty realm of Domino fell.